Kpop Demon Hunters, one of the biggest animated hits we've ever seen on Netflix. It's currently taking the web by storm and has also topped musical charts on both Apple and Spotify. It's like this fandom for the movie just exploded overnight and has been snowballing ever since. Meanwhile, you got Elio, a film that was a box office disaster and was the biggest flop in Pixar's history. A movie that virtually went under the radar and most general audiences ignored. So that begs the question, why did Kpop Demon Hunters blow Pixar out of the water? Is Pixar creatively stagnant? And if so, why? Despite the financial success of Inside Out 2 in 2024, there have been a lot of people criticizing Pixar and its current state of affairs. There is no denying that Kpop Demon Hunters did something right here, while Pixar fell on its face. I just want to know why. Yes, I know it has to do with the mouse, but there's more to the story than just that. So let's find out. But real quick, this video is brought to you by Helix Sleep. Folks, it's July, and it sucks as far as how humid and hot and awful it is outside, but I'll say this though, it is the most patriotic month of the whole dang old year. Our forefathers fought to maintain our independence from tyranny, and your blanket of freedom will be accompanied by one of the best mattresses in the game. Is here to provide you with the most patriotic sleep experience ever. Just line up that sports up to 20 different mattresses. There's sure to be a mattress that suits your patriotic needs. They even have the Helix Kids mattress for the littlest patriots. If I keep saying patriot over and over, I'm gonna have to send a check to Mel Gibson or something. And everything is shipped free within the continental USA! USA! Uncle Sam wants you to take the patented Helix Sleep Quiz. It will line you up with the perfect mattress for you based on your unique sleeping preferences because every patriot is different. And Helix knows that. My Midnight Lux has given me a better night's rest than any mattress I've ever had. Be it a home mattress or hotel mattress, my Helix Lux is goated. It fights on the front lines, protecting me against my insomnia and restless nights. With powdered muskets and powdered wigs, I wake up every morning with a tear in my eye, saluting the ways of Helix Sleep. And that tear is a tear of joy, knowing that my mattress is not made of fiberglass. So you can rest easy, knowing that your mattress is fighting for you, not against you. No mattress is too good for Helix Sleep. So get a mattress topper if you're looking to upgrade your sleeping experience to the next level. And folks, Helix is carrying out their civil duty to provide you with the best sleeping experience ever. And now we need you to experience better sleep. Get on over to helixsleep.com/Saberspark. Or click on the link in the description box down below to take advantage of our exclusive 4th of July partnership deal and get 27% off store-wide. Doing so helps us out, as well as getting you started on a journey towards better sleep. I mean it, folks, the Helix mattress I have is the best mattress I've ever had. I 100% approve them. So thanks to Helix for partnering up with us for this video. And now, back to the video. Okay, before we start, what is Kpop Demon Hunters even about? We need some context here. And yes, by the way, spoilers ahead. Here we go. Long ago, demons consumed the souls of humans to feed a powerful demon force called Kima. But a trio of demon hunters used the power of song to vanquish them and protect humanity, sealing them behind an interdimensional barrier called the Hanmoon. This group reincarnates throughout the centuries, eventually bringing us to the present, which is our main cast, Rumi, Mira, and Zoe, who are the members of a K-pop group called Huntrix, and are close to saving enough souls to create a golden Hanmoon, one that would seal off the demon barrier for good. But twist, Rumi is secretly half hunter and half demon. Ooh, it sounds like my fanfic, which has slowly affected her singing voice. To make matters worse, the girls have a new rival group to deal with called the Saja Boys. They're secretly demons, masquerading as humans to steal their fans and feast on the souls using catchy music. Jinu, the leader of the Saja Boys, figures out Rumi's secret during combat. He forms an uneasy alliance with her, as Rumi claims the Golden Hanmoon can break his deal with Guima, releasing him from being a demon prisoner from the guilt and shame of his former life. He must have been a brony. Keeping this secret slowly causes an emotional rift between Rumi, Mira, and Zoe, with everything culminating at the Idol Awards. Not American Idol. It's like a year 2000 joke. What am I talking about? However, the Saja Boys demons trick Mira and Zoe backstage, with two demons disguised as them, revealing Rumi's demon markings to the entire audience. Huntrix splits up as the Saja Boys hold a large concert at Namsen Tower to steal the souls of the entire audience. Rumi's foster mother, Celine, is in denial about controlling Rumi's demon side. She completely intends on covering up Rumi's markings. But Rumi rejects her, as she resents having to feel ashamed of who she is. All hope seems lost, as Mira and Zoe are entranced during the Saja Boys' performance. I don't blame them. That is until Rumi arrives to fight Guima, as she sings What It Sounds Like, a song about self-acceptance and owning your flaws without shame. I feel that way whenever I eat at Wendy's. Rumi is nearly overpowered by Guima, but Jinu sacrifices himself and his soul to protect her. This burst of power conquers Guima, creating a rainbow Hanmoon while protecting and restoring peace to the city. So yeah, I had so much fun watching this movie. After over 7 years in production, you can really tell how much care was put into making it, as the crew was intent on bringing an authentic Korean perspective to the storytelling. Plus, they did that entire trope of the power of music defeating evil. Takes me a bit back to rock and roll. For those who know, you know. And while I don't think K-pop is a perfect movie, I think it's incredibly solid for what it is. I also really liked how they explained demon influence as a voice in your head that reinforces your worst fears and insecurities as a means of control. That definitely feels like a pretty universal experience. But during my research for this video, I think this narrative choice is supposed to be related to the Korean social concept of shemyeon, or saving face. Apparently, there's a lot of unspoken pressure to always be seen as socially acceptable and upstanding in Korean society. So to my understanding, looking bad or making a public faux pas, even accidentally, carries a ton of shame and worry about how the effects of it can change how someone is perceived by others. I'm bringing this up because many of the lead characters all go through big moments of feeling inauthentic to themselves internally for the sake of a public performance or protecting a relationship by not saying what they mean. Especially with Rumi and her relationships with Mira, Zoe, and Jinu. She's only able to come to terms with those problems by owning them without shame. Now, my biggest complaint about the movie ties also into this shemyeon concept, though. I really wish they would have explained more on how these unspoken insecurities affected Mira and Zoe. We get some brief hints of it in the film, but I really wish they both had some additional backstory. Maybe something about Mira being completely disowned or estranged from her family for being unconventional to the point that Huntrix is her only emotional support network. Or maybe that Zoe struggles being fluent speaking Korean or adapting to life in South Korea because she's partially from the US. But I think the one character that would have benefited from this the most would have been Rumi's mother. We know Celine became her guardian after her mother died. But I think the impact could have been more powerful if we saw the issues between her and her mother from the start. Maybe she was worried about hugging Rumi or forbade her from doing certain activities like swimming that would have revealed her demon marks. But overall, despite my criticisms, Kpop Demon Hunters is incredible for its style and vision alone. We need more movies like this that take a leap of faith. And it has paid off handsomely for both Sony and Netflix. And K-pop fangirls everywhere. But then you got Elio, one of Pixar's biggest fumbles. In light of new information, where do I even begin? By the way, folks, I already did a full review of Elio a few weeks ago. But in case you did not see that video, shame on you. Or you're waiting for the movie to come out on Disney+, here's a really quick plot summary. Elio is a young boy who does not fit in on Earth. Or at the very least, he causes a lot of headaches for his aunt Olga and is more preoccupied with trying to get in touch with aliens than making new friends. But then one of his transmissions accidentally reaches outer space. He's taken away by a group of alien ambassadors in the Communiverse, a large organization full of alien leaders coexisting throughout space. Then things go awry when the notorious warlord, Lord Gragon, threatens to take over the Communiverse by force when he's not allowed to become a member. Elio lies, claiming he's the ambassador of Earth, and offers to make peace with Gragon in order to join their ranks. But because he's a kid, Elio is obviously terrible at negotiations, and only escapes to the ship with the help of Gragon's son, Glorden. Elio and Glorden are misfits in their own worlds, but find a lot to like in each other. Glorden has no interest in becoming a warlord like his father, and Elio does not feel wanted on Earth after the recent death of his parents. Together, they conspire to use clones to avoid having to deal with their real lives. But both Olga and Gragon are suspicious of their doubles and do whatever it takes to get their real kids back. I think the most obvious issue with Elio from the start was the story. Like, the more I think about it, the more I see it as a hot mess. A lot of things just happen because they need to happen to get from point A to point B. The version of the story we ended up with is serviceable. Glorden was a cute character. There are some fun aspects to this film. It tries to tug at your heartstrings, but it's not exceptionally memorable. Just fine. It's fine. And the word fine is never a term you want to use to describe a Pixar movie. Historically, they've been really good at making movies that were both fun and thought-provoking. And lately, well, that's become increasingly less of a given for them. I'd rather be angry than indifferent after seeing a Pixar movie. And that was not the case here. Sure, I typically blame Disney for going out of their way to clip their wings from a creative standpoint. Because, yeah, generally, it's their fault. But I'm also sorry to say this time, the call is also coming from inside the house, as Elio was also meddled with directly by Pixar's upper management too. At the time of my original review, I honestly did not know the extent of just how messy this production was. But that changed after the release of an explosive article about Elio's development in The Hollywood Reporter. Plainly explains why the finished movie feels like such a nothing burger. It was completely nerfed and gutted from the inside out. Not that movie. I mean the turn of phrase. The biggest revelation being that Elio was intended to be a queer-coded character, even in a subtle way through combining fashion and environmentalism. Insider statements couldn't agree on whether this was included as a nod to Adrian Molina, the original director and producer of Elio, who is openly gay, but the crew opted to make Elio more masculine instead. But an anonymous former artist tied to the film claimed any message the film originally had was getting watered down, stating, quote, "It was pretty clear through the production of the first version of the film that studio leaders were constantly sanding down these moments in the film that alluded to Elio's sexuality of being queer," end quote. Apparently, the entire production had to pivot after the first cut of the movie was test screened in Arizona during 2023. The audience had liked the movie just fine, but the studio wanted to know by a show of hands if they'd actually pay to see it in theaters. And brutally, not a single person raised their hand. As if that wasn't enough of a gut punch, the first test screening for Pixar's management went even worse. By the end of it, Pete Docter had seemingly lost faith in the project under Adrian's direction, replacing him with Domee Shi and Madeline Sharafian. The new direction they were tasked to go with turned some artists off, with this choice being seen as Pixar trading integrity for marketability. One of the crew members who did go on record was Sarah Ligotic, a former assistant editor who was heartbroken seeing the production altered so drastically, stating, quote, "I was deeply saddened and aggrieved by the changes that were made. The exodus of talent after that cut was really indicative of how unhappy a lot of people were that they had changed and destroyed this beautiful work," end quote. Of course, there's no full consensus from the other artists who worked on the movie, but it's clear that this was going to be a divisive move no matter what. The crew that did stick around had their work cut out for them. But Elio was getting moved down the bench as a priority for Disney and Pixar. It stopped being a new movie to look forward to. It shifted into being an obligation to get off their plates. And that is never a good spot for a Pixar film. To go from like Soul to how Turning Red was mistreated to Elemental, it's just a losing streak, and it's very obvious. Like there's something wrong with the studio. But that leads us to the main question of this video. Why did Kpop Demon Hunters succeed where Elio failed? I mean, obviously, these movies could not be more different, but they're both solid case studies for where the animation industry is at this point. They're polar opposites in what and what not to do when it comes to creative vision, knowing your demographic, marketing approaches, and effective distribution. To call Kpop Demon Hunters a labor of love would be a gross understatement. Because in the hands of any other studio than Sony, this movie realistically would not exist. And when Netflix isn't flushing money down the toilet, making another Squid Game or Stranger Things iteration, they can very occasionally back something really creative and fun. Like the finest kimchi in the land, K-pop was given the time to mature and ferment into a spicy and memorable experience. That's my convoluted way of saying the production wasn't rushed. And they were actually allowed to take their time to refine things. The original version was pitched 7 years ago and was actively being developed for 4 years starting in late 2021. Hey, it's funny how a better movie happens when you're not crunching the animators to death, right? Hey, executives, you, right there. Executives, listen to this. Let the artists create. Give them time. Pay them well. Paying attention? Yeah? They're not. The story for Kpop Demon Hunters was conceived by Maggie Kang, a Korean-Canadian storyboard artist best known for her work on the Lego Ninjago movie and Rise of the Guardians. She wanted to show more positive depictions of Koreans in animation, with the inspiration for this movie partially coming from the rise of BTS during the pandemic. She had seen a few of their virtual concerts during lockdown, and noticed how it lifted the morale of so many fans during a really chaotic period. Kang also co-wrote the story and co-directed the movie with her colleague, Chris Appelhans. After working on Wish Dragon together, she came up with the concept by wanting to expand Korean folklore, stating, quote, "I wanted to just make a movie that was set in Korean culture. So I delved into mythology and demonology for something that could be visually unique from what we've seen in mainstream media. I thought about a daily job that they could do. K-pop just came to mind and became the pitching point of the movie." End quote. In fact, Maggie boarded the film's entire opening sequence as a proof of concept to get K-pop greenlit. The project was officially put into development by Sony Animation in March of 2021. The concept for Kpop Demon Hunters is so specific, so girly, and yes, so Korean, that it becoming such a viral hit worldwide did surprise me at first. But honestly, I think that commitment from K-pop's crew owning their identity and being so unapologetically authentic has helped them tremendously. But if the biggest criticism I have is wanting more from this movie, then I think that's a pretty good sign, all things considered. And it looks like Maggie was already well aware of how much they could expand on the existing story. In an article with Variety, she stated, quote, "We've set up so much for potential backstory. Obviously, there's a lot of questions that are left unanswered and areas that are not explored. And we had to do that because there's only so much movie you could tell in 85 minutes. This was Rumi's story, and we have backstories for Zoe and Mira, ones that we actually put in the movie, but it just kind of rejected it. It just wasn't the movie for those stories." End quote. The success of K-pop also goes to highlight why Elio feels so bland and forgettable in comparison. It's especially heartbreaking because there was a good story in there once. We as an audience just never got to see it because it didn't test well. Honestly, hearing about that in the article specifically really pissed me off. There's a number of reasons that could be the case. People not going to the theaters as frequently, not having children at home, possible political demographic conflicts given the story's original focus. Or, the obvious elephant in the room. The fact that Disney has been training audiences to undervalue original Pixar movies since the peak of the pandemic. Luca, Turning Red, Soul, all of these films have been thrown under the bus. What started off as Disney's business decision to accommodate negative global circumstances has gradually warped into a flimsy excuse for them to dump original Pixar movies straight onto Disney Plus when they feel like it. I have a friend who has a kid, and I asked him about Elio back in June, and he said, we'll wait till Disney Plus. That's a bad situation for Pixar to be in. To me, this feels like a subconscious move for people to view them as though they're lesser movies just because they're not from a pre-existing franchise and don't have a 2, 3, 4, or a 5 behind the title. If nothing else, I think it's safe to say Pixar's in the middle of an image crisis. And it's not realistic for them to constantly dwell on their past successes all the time. It keeps them from being fully invested and making future classic films with the time needed to allow them to fully be formed. So, where does that leave things with Sony from here? Well, when you inadvertently create one of the most revolutionary animated movies in decades, it leaves big shoes to fill. And sure, Sony's animated films have been kind of hit or miss over the years. Especially in the early years. Never again. But I do appreciate that they still try new things. They've been leaning further into going more experimental and expressive when it comes to CGI animation. And they're also one of the few major animation studios willing to take a risk on something this specific. But when they do take a big risk and fully commit to letting the production team cook, it pays off for them in a big way. Now, does K-pop reach the same heights for Sony as Into the Spider-Verse? No. But it doesn't have to. Not every new movie needs to be that impactful to have its own merit. This movie, though, is still such a breath of fresh air from all the bad news surrounding animation lately. At least in terms of projects getting delayed, axed, or otherwise pushed aside. Audiences need this movie right now, and the industry absolutely does too. Personally, I would love to see the girls return for any kind of encore. Maybe a boy band from America who are also Demon Hunters. I don't know. Let's mix it up. It's NSYNC. They're back. Here's hoping Netflix is willing to book Kpop Demon Hunters for another world tour. And for Pixar, you guys need a serious conversation with Disney because there's something wrong. You got to get your house in order. I think everyone can see the writing on the wall. But hey, there's that cat movie coming out soon. That looks good. I want to see that. Unfortunately, that sequel rumor for Ratatouille, that was fake. Thank God. Toy Story 5, though, But hey, folks, those are just my overall thoughts. What did you all think? Tell me down below in the comments. I'll see you all next time.